I loved my grandpa a lot, so it shattered my world when we lost him. I still remember the summers I spent visiting his house by the lake, the afternoons we spent fishing and coming back with hardly anything, and the evenings we spent laughing about how bad we both were at fishing. My sisters never really wanted anything to do with the lake house. They never even visited our grandpa, even when he got sick. All they ever wanted from him were the monthly allowances he'd send us. I never expected nor wanted him to leave me any inheritance. I never wanted him to leave at all. I wanted him to live forever. But when the lawyer read his last will and testament, I was still surprised with what he did. Hi there. I'm Elena, and this is my story. You think you have an idea for a great story? Post the title in the comments below, and give a like to the ones you want to see animated. Now, let's get back into it.
To my eldest granddaughter, Brianna, I leave $4 million, the mansion, and the blanket my mother knitted for me when I was still a baby. To my dear granddaughter, Lynette, I leave $4 million and the first ever dollar I ever made. Lastly, to my most beloved, most cherished granddaughter, Elena. Although you are not my blood, you are and will always be the reason my life was filled with so much joy. I love you. I leave to you this book that I wrote during our last summer at the lake house. It is the most important thing that I have ever done. And now, I give it to the one who will carry my legacy. May it bring you success and happiness. The rest of my estate, I leave to my surviving children and to charity.
My sisters looked at me in shock, and then they both grinned with smugness. I felt like my whole world got turned upside down. It was not because of the money. It was not because I got a book while my sisters got a whole lot of money. It was because for the first time in my life, I learned that I was adopted. People have kind of always joked about it. My sisters would always tease me about being the odd one out in the family, telling me I was probably found at a gas station as a baby. Even my classmates used to bully me about being the only one in our family who looked different. But my parents would always just brush it off. Now that I think about it, their awkward silence whenever it was brought up was a bit sus. The moment we got home from the lawyers, my sisters laughed in my face. I guess we were right. We knew all along, and all our lives, no one said anything about it. You were adopted after all. Kinda rude of Mom and Dad not to tell us before they went and croaked. Exactly. They probably thought they could keep that lie going. Lucky Grandpa didn't buy it. Yeah, imagine. All those years of visiting him and sucking up to him didn't even convince them to leave you anything. Must be sad for you. You're such a Girl Scout, such a do-gooder, brown-nosing suck-up. And you still got nothing for it. Serves her right. She thought she could win Grandpa's love by being nice to him. He wasn't your grandpa after all. I didn't care that I didn't get what my sisters got. I didn't care that I had only a book to remember him by. It was his, and I knew how hard he worked to write it. And I knew it was worth more to me than any amount of money in the world. But then, things went south. Since the house now belonged to Brianna, and now that they knew I was adopted, my sisters wanted me gone. When they couldn't make me hate Grandpa, and their continued taunts didn't make me sad about how he didn't leave me money, they tried a different route to ruin my life. One day I woke up to find my room trashed. Everything I owned was dumped in a pile outside the door. The maids all looked at me, ashamed and apologetic. I'm sorry, Miss Selena. Your sisters, we tried to stop them, to reason with them, but they said if we get in their way, they would fire us. I can't lose this job, miss. My sons, we would starve. Please, Miss Elena, please forgive us. We tried to help. It's not your fault, and thank you for sticking up for me. I won't forget that. I accepted what my sisters wanted. I didn't stop to make myself coffee. I didn't even bother asking them to let me stay. All my life, I tried to be good to them. All my life, I took a back seat so they would be happy. All my life, I watched them become brats and watched them constantly disrespect our parents and Grandpa. Now that they want me out, I was glad to be out. When I was about to leave, Brianna threw Grandpa's blanket at me. You're gonna need this mothball-smelling crap. It's cold out there. I have no space for garbage anyways. Oh, and you're gonna need this. I've got 4 million of these. Lynette shoved me off the driveway and put Grandpa's first dollar in my pocket. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what to do. So I sat on a park bench and opened the one thing I had that gave me comfort, I started reading Grandpa's book. At first, I thought it was just some book about business that Grandpa had intended as a self-help type of thing. That was until I read something very specific to our family. And that was when I realized it was not something he dreamed of having published. The book he left me was an instruction manual. It was a roadmap. I was going to stay at a friend's house for a while, but then Grandpa's book pointed me to an address. He said it was the first place I should go to in the event of his passing. So I held a cab and went on my way. When I got there, I rang the doorbell, and before I could even guess who it was my grandfather wanted me to visit, a butler opened the door, and upon seeing me, he began to cry.
Welcome home, Miss Elena. This must mean... We knew this day would come. I'm so sorry for your loss. He was a great man. My name is Sebastian, and I will be your butler from now on.
And then he hugged me. My butler? Wait, did he say he was my butler? Sebastian told me what my grandfather had planned. He had correctly predicted what my sisters were going to do. He knew that the family were a bunch of ungrateful sharks who only waited around for him to die so they could go after his money. And he knew that all of them would squander that money. He also knew that, being adopted, my relatives would go after me if he left me any. So, he wanted to take care of me even after he was gone. It was a villa in town none of my family even knew about. And there, he left all of his favorite things. And now, his favorite granddaughter was living there too. I spent the day reading his book, and once I finished, I got to work. At the very last page, there was a crisp $100 bill. A note attached to it said, "I started my business with only $100. I know if anyone in the world can do it too, you can." And so I did. By following Grandpa's instructions, I mirrored his success. And in a few years' time, I became one of the most successful businesswomen in the state. I won awards and recognition. I became a billionaire. And I surpassed Grandpa's success. While my family wasted their inheritance, I was earning mine. It was 4 years later that some cousins and aunts came to me for a loan. And when I denied them for treating me horribly, they threatened to sue me. And they started spreading rumors about where I got my money. She got money from Dad, that's for sure.
That's for sure. Why did Grandpa secretly give her money?
Who knows, but it sounds shady. She's not even related to us. As his daughter, I demand a portion of that money. If you're not going to give us our rightful money, I'll see to it that you go to jail. Oh, like how you sent your husband to jail by framing him after he tried to divorce you because you were dating your driver? That made her take a beat. How did you... Nobody else knows. It's all in here. I took out Grandpa's trusty old book and gave it a riffling through. I found the section that talked about my cousin's gambling habits and how he owes a lot of money to loan sharks. And then it talked about how a lot of my family had a bunch of tax-related activity that the authorities would be very interested to hear about. And from that day on, they never bothered me. See, my grandpa thought of everything, and he knew everyone's secrets. He knew that one day my family would be jealous of my success. And if they ever came after me, he made sure to give me the necessary means to not let them win. A few months later, my sisters came to visit me. They weren't there to catch up like the good sisters they should have been. They were there to ask for money. I wish Grandpa left me the book instead. Do you think maybe we could borrow just a few bucks? We're hungry. Our maids left because we couldn't pay them, and we don't know how to cook. Maybe it's time you learn. Can I at least have Grandpa's dollar back? It's vintage money, right? Maybe I can sell it on eBay. Thing is, I already had that dollar framed, right alongside the first dollar I made after putting up my very own business. So, out of the goodness of my heart, I gave my sisters a sandwich each. And then I kindly asked Sebastian to escort them off my property.